This video is part 3 in a series that deals with the Visuals Editor tool, and today we're going to be talking about actually putting in visuals such as flag routines, rifle routines, and visuals that the horn players can do as well. Earlier videos in this series looking at the Visuals Editor dealt with the Uniform and Equipment tab that you can find here, as well as the Facing and March Style and Pace tab, so those can be found already on the channel. The next video will deal with the Performer Prop tab, but today we're going to focus in on the visuals. As you can see, I have 14 players already plotted out here, and if you go to Real View, you'll note that this back line here is a color guard line with flags, and this front line here are baritones at attention. So one of the cool things that we can do, making sure that it's just guard selected right now, is you can change a lot of their positioning just right here off of this window. You have two different sections, the upper body, whatever the upper body does, and the lower body, whatever the lower body does. So right now I have them at right shoulder, as you can see, but I could also have them at attention. That gives us two different variants on attention, and you can see it changing right there. But I could also choose different weird things like a layered pose, where you can see that one hand is up and the other hand is still holding the flag, and you can have them to the left or to the right. I could have them on their hands and knees, although that's actually a little deceiving because this is an upper body pose. So you're not going to actually have them on their hands and knees. It's just going to kind of look like that from the upper body perspective. So you got a really close look at it. You see, it kind of is what it would look like if they were horizontal, actually on their hands and knees, but we're not doing that, so because it's an upper body, so it can be a little deceiving. But you can play around with all of these and figure out what looks good to you and what you would like to use. In addition to that, in addition to the pose for the upper body, you can also have an upper body move, and this is where we can put in all the stuff that happens in, well, not all of it, but a lot of things that can make the color guard visuals look a little bit more realistic. So let's go ahead and go from page 1 to page 2. So that's an 8-count transition. Go back to our form, and let's have them do something simple, like a spin. Let's have them spin one time per count, hit apply changes, and now when I hit play, well, that's actually really quick because I had this turned on, so that's a little bit better. Yeah, I had the fast forward button turned on. But I can also tell it that was a little fast. I can tell it to go half a time per count. And that looks a lot more realistic, right? And you've got other options as well. You've got 4 times per, or a third, or a quarter. And so you basically can slow them down until you get something that you actually want to use. We also have a toss. Tosses can be a little tricky. I'm going to tell this toss to, let me go here. So every once in a while, when you click in here, it won't take a number. And when it does, sometimes you have to click out and click back in. So it wasn't taking a number for a while, and then it did. So let's go back to this. I'm going to tell it to take 6 counts to move, starting at count 1. And it's going to do a 4 toss. And let's see what that looks like. There you go. And then you can experiment with how fast you want that to be or how high you want it to be. A 1 is lowest, a 5 is highest. You can tell it to take all 8 counts. You can tell it to take, see, this is one of those times where I'm clicking in here, but it's not letting me do it. So clicking out here, selecting your performers again, and now I could change it if I wanted to. So let's say 8 counts to move, and let's see what happens when I do that on a 4-count toss. Actually, let's make it a 5 toss. That'll be a little higher, and there you go. In conjunction with some of the other moves, this can look really kind of cool, and it at least gives you a sense of what the choreography might look like. You can also do these 4 different moves here, an X-carve, a figure 8, a butterfly, and windmills. Let's just do a figure 8. It's going to take 8 counts to move. I'm going to hit apply changes, and let's see what that looks like. So you can see that basically they are doing, well, I don't know why it's going so fast. It might have something to do with the actual screen recording that's happening right now. So maybe let's try something different, because it doesn't go that fast when I don't have the screen recorder turned on, but I think I'm putting quite a load on my video card right now. So let's see what the butterfly looks like. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. There you go. It still took a little, it was still a little fast, but I wonder if I have these guys on a different pace. No, it's one step per beat. Okay. But you can mess around with that and you should see better results, especially since you're not going to be doing a screen record while you're doing it. X-carve, figure eight, butterflies, windmills, you do these in conjunction and they can look really cool. Like for example, that was an 8-count move, but what if I went and just did butterflies for 4 counts, and then for the next 4 counts, I'll do spin, and we'll do 1/3 spin. And then for the next, it's hard to grab this tab right now, everything's reacting kind of slowly. For the next 4 tabs, 4 counts, we'll do windmills for 4 counts. And for the last 4, we will do an X-carve for the remaining 4 counts. And so now, when I go to play from count 0, where my yellow anchor is, to count 16, where my red anchor is, I should get a combination of moves. Let's take a look at it. There we go, and there's the spin, and there's another move, and there's another move. And it wrapped up really quickly. Again, I think my computer's being a little laggy right now. But you see that it kind of looks like it's realistic. You might actually see guards put together these kind of moves. In addition, you can do this with rifles and sabers. You can actually do this with almost anything that they are holding on to. For the lower body, you can also change the way that they're standing. Let's do this just for the first page, and we will have them kneel to the right. And you can see they are kneeling to the right. You can have them squat center, and they will squat center. Let's go ahead and get the flag a little out of the way so you can see it a little bit better. We'll put them at right shoulder. Yeah, so there you go. They're doing a squat center now. You can have them on their hands and knees here, and that will look a little bit more realistic. As you can see, hands and knees, and if you put that in conjunction with the hands and knees up here in the upper body pose, it should look more realistic. Yeah, there you go. Now, of course, it doesn't look realistic to have the flag bisecting their heads like that, but it looks a little bit more realistic than before. All right, let's zoom out a little bit there so we can just get those guys. Let's just go ahead and put them back at stand, and we'll go ahead and put these guys back at right shoulder, because there is one more thing that you can do. Just like you can have a pose for their lower body, you can also have a move for the lower body. There's not as many as there are moves for the upper body. Maybe Pyware will add more in the future. They're usually pretty good about that. But we have a rond de jambe to the right. Let's go ahead and do that, taking 4 counts to do. And take a look at their lower bodies. That was the rond de jambe to the right. And you can imagine what the rond de jambe to the left will be, but you can also have a plie or a grand plie. Let's go ahead and do the grand plie so you can see what that looks like. That's a grand plie. And obviously with that particular move, it would probably be more effective to take more counts to do that. Let's go ahead and have them do that over the course of the entire move, 8 counts. And let's see what that looks like. Yeah, it's a little bit more visually effective. So these are things that you can do with the lower body, and in conjunction with things that you can do with the upper body, it can give them a very realistic look. The hold style is just whether you want them to hold standing or hold marking time. A lot of college bands, for example, whenever they do a hold, it's marking time, so you can differentiate that here. Nor is this only a thing that you can do with the color guard. You can see here my line of baritones. I'm going to go ahead and select them. So with my line of baritones here, they're right now horns down, but I can have them horns up. And now they're horns up. I can have them horns to the press box, so slightly higher. I can also have them doing all those other weird little moves, like a layered pose to the left, or a pin pose. There it is. You can have them do a lot of different things, and it's really up to you to explore this entire area here and have fun with it. As far as their moves, they don't have nearly as many as the color guard as you can imagine, but there are a few. You can do well, actually there's only one. I thought there was more. You can do a horn circle counterclockwise. Let's see what that looks like over the course of 8 counts. And hit play. Yeah, so it's not very, it's very subtle. It's not very noticeable, but maybe in the future Pyware will add a few more things there. You can also do a lot of things with their lower body as far as the poses. Pretty much everything that you could do with the color guard, you can do with the lower body of wind players and even percussionists. And the moves are the same, so we could also add a plie here. Again, sometimes, I don't know why, sometimes you just have to unclick the, get the real view out of the way, and then you can enter the move again. So let's see what a grand plie in conjunction with a horn circle counterclockwise looks like. Oh, it didn't do the horn circle counterclockwise. I wonder why. I guess maybe those two are incompatible. And you will have to mess around with that to see what things might be compatible and not compatible. We can just do that and then maybe do something funky like lay on their left side while they do a grand plie. Well, that's the upper body, so clearly they can't really actually lay while they're doing a grand plie, but... Oh, interesting. So the grand plie, it looks like it forces them to have the baritone up unless, let me see if I can change it on tab 1. Lay left. Let's see, if I change it on tab 1 so that they start in this position, and then add the grand plie on tab 2, let's see what happens. Ah, there we go. So yeah, it's the fact that they were resetting to what they were doing on page 1, which was to have the horn at attention. So as you can see, there are a ton of things that you can play around with in here that are going to help to make things look a little bit more realistic. Your imagination is the key. You can create sequences of color guard routines, and yeah, your color guard choreographer probably is not going to do exactly what you are putting on here, but it will help the entire production look more realistic. If you know you want to ask your choreographer, hey, I think that we should have a flag toss here, well, you could do something like that. If you know you want them to spin for a particular effect, you could ask them to do that. It may not look exactly like what your animation is going to look like, but it'll come pretty close. I think that this is one of the cool things that has been added by Pyware in the last decade or so. And it's really opened up the imagination for some people. It helps some people to be able to see it. Not to mention, when you are designing for a high school band, it's really cool for you to be able to send a video of the animation where people can see what the drill might look like if they work really, really hard. All of this is some pretty cool stuff that you're able to add onto the program. It's not going to help you write drill. As I've said in other parts, this is where the drill gets written, right? This is where you have to actually make sure that people have the correct step size, the correct pacing, the correct intervals. All that stuff happens here. But just for an extra added bit of realism and to have fun, sometimes it's nice to delve into the visuals tool. Our final part, which I'll do in the next couple of days, will deal with the performer prop tools and some of the things that you can do in conjunction with the actual prop tool. So look for that within the next week or so. Hopefully this has been helpful to you, and see you soon.